Welcome to the EAST Partnership video series on project management. In this series, I will be joined by my friend Sanya Mathura from Strategic Reliability Solutions and my friends Ian and Tim from PM-ProLearn, a leading project management training organization. We will talk about how project management certification benefits both the member and the organization and how it applies specifically to those that work in maintaining and managing the world's greatest assets. So please check us out on eastpartnership.org and enjoy the video.
All right, so Sanya, what's the value of project management certification to the clients that you usually manage on your accounts?
I think that certification is just great no matter what, especially with PMP. It's a global certification. And when we look at the way the world is working right now, having a global certification is just amazing because it gets you into so many different doors and the workforce is opening up a lot. So our guys in Trinidad can apply to a project management job in another part of the world because they have that PMP certification. And what I've realized with this certification as well is that a lot of people, especially engineers, they do project management on a daily basis, but they don't know that they do it. And for instance, if you're planning a shutdown of your equipment or you're doing a full turnaround, you need to plan from beginning to end. You need to get logistics in place. You need to have your budget cut out because the finance guys are going to come after you no matter what. You're going to have your scheduling in place because, for instance, one of the power plants in Trinidad, they're very old. So they were upgrading their turbines and they ordered 2 new turbines. And what they didn't realize is that they need to schedule when they're gonna install those turbines. So your maintenance guys get involved. You can't afford to lose power to the grid because it's going to affect your profits at the end of the day for the power company. So they need to properly schedule that, budget that. And logistics plays a great part in that, a huge, huge part. One of the reasons that I say that is when the turbines came in, now turbines are pretty big, the finance guys, what they did is that they were trying to cut costs as much as possible. So they used a regular transport guy. And the turbines couldn't pass over the bridge. The bridge is the only bridge leading to the plants. So there was stuff flying all over the place, just trying to get this turbine into the plant. And they're like, oh my God, why did we not choose the proper guys to actually lay this plan out? So
do you have that on video?
I wish I did.
Some of the
guys wanted to send it to me, and I'm like, you know what? I think I've heard enough.
Yeah, and so who are most of your clients? What kind of industries do they work?
So Trinidad is very diverse, and I love that about it. And we have a lot of manufacturing. We have a lot of petrochemical. We are heavy in oil and gas. We've been in the oil and gas industry for the past 100 years or so. Definitely older than I am, of course. So we have a lot of engineers and a lot of maintenance, reliability. We have a lot of companies from the US that have their bases in Trinidad. We have the BPs, the Shells, the Halliburton, and then we have the local manufacturing companies that export. And I know you know about Caribbean, so we have them as well. Yeah.
Caribbean, yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. So they actually support the entire Caribbean. So some of the products that we make in Trinidad, they go straight up the islands and then they're exported to the US as well. So we're heavily industrialized in Trinidad compared to some of the other Caribbean islands. A lot of the Caribbean islands, they depend on tourism. And that's why this whole COVID thing is a bit of a shakeup. It's a shakeup within the industry as well, because the demand for like ammonia or methanol, those have gone down significantly. So we have some plants on the verge of closing. Some of them have closed. So it's a lot of balance there. But getting back to why you need to be certified, sometimes when you do something, you think that you've done it at your best ability, but you haven't because you haven't seen exactly what is involved in project management. And becoming certified helps you to gain that extra confidence in what you need to do. And you're basically joining a group, a community of other project management professionals. And having that tribe of professionals which you basically have that tribe at your beck and call because everybody's interacting, and that's what I like about project management, and that's why definitely you should get certified.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I mean, what a large, industrial base you have down there, and it's amazing how it has those tentacles that reach out through that entire region, right? I mean, Tim, Ian, you guys, understand that world of work a bit, and how project management applies to so many different industries. Do you have anything you'd like to add on that?
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to jump on top of Ian on that, but yeah, we, in our work in PM-ProLearn of training people, we just come across people from all different industries, and so it's just been so fun to see looking out across the class of people that you got people in there from IT, from construction, from oil and gas, from aerospace, healthcare, and it's just really project management is just done across industries. This is totally not industry specific. But the skill sets are the same thing, right? The things that you would use to manage a project in the oil and gas industry, the same basic practices is what you would use in healthcare or IT. It's just the details of the project are different. But yeah, there's so many people out there actually managing projects that really don't know that that's what they're doing, and they don't have any maybe formal training in it. They don't have any develop standards within their organization, that say, hey, this is how we manage projects here. This is how we plan. This is how we execute, how we monitor and control those things. So it's really fun. I've learned so much about so many different industries being a project management trainer.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. It's not industry specific at all.
I think one of the most important aspects of the certification process is, as Tim said, we've had oil and gas, aerospace, construction, telecom in the same room together, and we're giving them all a common language to speak from, and that's super important when you think about it. Just the ability for these different groups of people who work on completely different types of projects can all talk the same language and can find ways to kind of interrelate and tether things together in a way. And their examples, it's amazing. You hear somebody from the medical industry who will give an example, and then you'll hear somebody from oil and gas pile on top of it. You're like, yeah, and then it kind of goes along with this. And then you get somebody from, telecom or aerospace. It's like, oh, and plus that. And it's very cool to, see that. And as Sanya said, that group of people really start to collaborate regardless, of the industry or sector or domain that they're coming from, and be able to talk to each other and understand what each other is saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to experience that teaching those classes. It was even within one organization, you had so many people from different disciplines within the same organization, and it created this tremendous organizational learning experience. Just everyone being in the same room. Some of those people have been in the same group for years, but they've never actually sat in a room together and worked on learning together. It was always really cool to see that come to life. Yeah, so Sanya, that gets really challenging, right? You think about COVID, you think about some of the other industry challenges you guys have going on right now out in the industry. It has to have an impact on the way companies view training, right? What are you seeing right now, and what would you tell companies about how they should view investing in training?
So I get this question about investments in training all the time because they're like, why should I really pay for that? Or should I just let the guy do what he thinks he's been doing right for the past 30 years? Can't change him now. And I kind of bring it back to a very simple example that everybody should understand. If you go to the grocery and you buy 6 eggs and you come back at home, if you have never, and I hope this, unless you're living in a bubble, never cooked an egg in your life, the first thing you need to know is if it's a good egg or if it's a bad egg before you even consume it. So let's say no experience whatsoever, no training, and then you crack the egg, and let's say your sense of smell just died, for that week, randomly. So you're not going to know that the egg is bad. And chances are you're going to end up in the hospital with some very, very bad case of food poisoning afterwards. So if you were trained on just detecting whether it's a good egg or a bad egg, you actually would have avoided that hospital cost, right? And if you take it a step further, now, supposedly, everybody should know how to boil water. Supposedly, I'm just, putting that out there. So if you put an egg in water, you can boil it. So that's one step. So you've been trained on that. If you watch a YouTube video, you can figure out how to poach an egg, but that's investing your time into training yourself on how to cook an egg. So it's the exact same thing with training. If you don't invest the time and the effort into training, you may never eat an egg in your life. But it could be applied to your workplace as well. So you may never be trained in your skills or getting the job done as efficiently as possible. And then there's the flip side to it, where when you have managers that invest in their employees for training, they're actually telling their employees, I trust you to get this training, to bring the information back to the organization, and I know you will carry out whatever you learned and implement it in the organization. So in that, you're kind of boosting the employee morale. They're like, oh, okay, I feel good about that. I am definitely going to the training. I'm going to bring back some stuff there. And what happens is that you start to empower your industry, you start to empower your people, and you start seeing that little by little, your efficiencies start going up. They start working better. You start seeing, more engagement. You start seeing them being more interactive, more interested, and getting the job done. And that is the value of actually investing in your people and investing in training them. So that's why I like to say, just get your guys trained, empower your people, let them learn as much as possible. Even if it's a YouTube video on how to boil an egg, still, it's learning helps. And that's why they should definitely invest in learning at any point in time.
Absolutely.
Can I tack on the back of that too, Lucas?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Sanya brings up a really great point, and we've all probably heard the saying, what if we invest in our people and they leave? What if we don't and they stay? Right? Mm-hmm. That's a very common phrase. But I mean, in terms of, if you think about it, if your team is, and creating all kinds of safety hazards, and you're getting inspected by OSHA all the time, and you're under all kinds of compliance inspections and regulations all the time, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to do a maintenance stand down, you're going to do a safety stand down, you're going to train your people, right? Well, if you're blowing through project budgets, if you're not meeting the schedule, if you're not delivering value to the customers, what's the first thing you do? Nothing, right? You just sit back and do nothing. And
find someone to blame.
Yeah, I mean that's the value of it, right? Is that you legitimize the experience, you formalize the education, and you move. It's a resource-based strategic decision, and it's the same thing that you would do for a safety stand down. It's just instead you're saying, hey, we value what we're supposed to be doing as a core tenet to our organization, and it takes training to do that.
That's solid. Tim?
So I was just thinking that in the world of project management, we come across so many people that are filling project manager roles who got into that role because they were a great technician, right? I was a good engineer. I worked my way up. I've been doing this for years in these engineering things. And so they made me a project manager in charge of these projects. Same thing with a software developer. You see software developers great at developing software. They're the technical experts. So let's make them a project manager. So we come across that so often that project management is treated as, oh, well, if you've got technical expertise, you must be able to manage the project, right? And it does not work that way, right? Yeah. Now, granted, some people can, right, if they're good at their technical skill, can also learn and by doing and get in there and do good at projects. Not saying everybody's a failure in that regard, but there are so many people that I come across and they say, I'm a project manager. And I say, how did you get there? What training? Well, I don't have any formal training in project management, but I've been doing this for 20 years. So they made me project manager. Okay. And you start asking them some questions about good project management practice. And they're like, yeah, I never heard of that. I don't know about that. How do you do that? And so, organizations tend to treat project management as anybody can do that. If you're good at something, you can be good at managing your project. It is a discipline all in its own. And if you don't invest in training people in that discipline, you should expect you're going to have problems. And when you're wondering why you're behind schedule and you're over budget and you got risk issues popping up here and there, that might be why. I was thinking when Sanya was giving that example about training on the eggs and everything, something that popped into my mind. I'm a retired Marine, so I always think about these examples of my military experience. And I was thinking, putting someone in a project manager job without training just because they were good at something would be kind of like if I took someone that may be good at shooting a rifle because they grew up hunting or whatever and say, hey, I'm gonna put you in a uniform and put a rifle in your hand and send you out there, and we're gonna get a bunch of you guys out there, and that's gonna be our military unit with no training. Because why? Because you're good at shooting a rifle. You got to be a good infantry guy if you can shoot a rifle. No, there's so much more to being an infantryman than being able to shoot a rifle. Well, there's so much more to being a project manager than being good at some technical skill, right? You can't do that. That's why organizations, one of the root causes why organizations have so much trouble. If you invest in training people in the skills and discipline of project management, you're going to save tons of money. You won't be saying so often, why are we behind schedule? Why are we over budget? It's not going to eliminate all your problems, but it will certainly minimize and mitigate them. And man, it's like lubrication, right? If you spend a little time lubricating your equipment, it's going to perform a lot better for you. So training is like that lubrication. If you do that preventive maintenance and you invest in it, you're going to get a much smoother running machine. Your project team will run so much smoother if you invest in a little bit of lubrication there, which training, right? Good analogy in my mind anyway.
I love it.
Yeah. To kind of tack on to what you guys are saying there, I always looked at it from like, even if you stepped away from the technical side of project management for just a moment, right? And you go, okay, fine. I'm a senior level person. I get it. I'm investing in people. Great. That'll keep them around a little bit longer. I'm building better competency within my organization. Perfect. Maybe I'll extract some efficiencies from that, right? When do you ever hear it tied to quality? Like the quality of the work that comes out of an organization, right, being directly linked to the quality of project management in the organization. Like, think about all the major players in all the different industries that have really executed sound technical products and had terrible project management or terrible marketing or some other business aspect, and they completely missed an opportunity. They tanked. I mean, it's so, you could just riddle the table with examples of that in all these different, high-tech companies that we've encountered over the last 20, 30 years since the internet really made its presence felt on the world, And I always wondered, like, how come leadership isn't looking at some of the ROI for getting people trained in project management as like an investment in continuous improvement in the organization itself? Not just like we make better products because we run better projects. That's a huge point I think a lot of leadership miss.
Yeah, I think honestly goes back to, the difference between profit centers and cost centers, right? They don't see project management directly related to profit, unfortunately, because it's there, it's transparent. But when you don't have good project management, you don't have as much profit for sure, right? I think your point, you're just dead on. Dead on.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me.
Make sure to check out eastpartnership.org for more.